everyone. My name is Christy Yankee. I'm the coordinator of the Senior Project Program, and I'm sending this voiced-over slideshow presentation to you because we were unable to hold our meet and greet due to inclement weather. There are numerous people here at FHS who serve on the Senior Project team. I just wanted to point out some key players. Peter Light is our principal. Judy O'Neill is the Senior Project course teacher, and Jane Hogan is the director of the Franklin Arts Academy, which sends numerous students through the program. Senior Project is an opportunity for students to apply what they've learned throughout schooling in grades K through 12 to a workplace and career environment. We consider this to be a transition from high school to life after high school, where they get a taste of future college majors and careers. And it's one of the few ways we have for businesses and people from the community to directly have an impact on student learning and be a part of the educational process during a student's senior year. I'm sure many of you are wondering what the scope of Senior Project is. And so to kind of break it down from start to finish, we've broken it into 5 parts, or the 5 P's of Senior Project. And the first P would be the proposal. And really the proposal phase is a brainstorming phase where the students are trying to figure out what field they're going to get into, what type of site they might ask to join. They're thinking of essential questions, and they continue to figure all of this out throughout the summer, and this takes us through the fall of senior year. Once this is all solidified, the students then start a course with Judy O'Neill, and in that course they're being prepared for starting on the workforce. And a major component of that is research and a paper, and so that's the second P of Senior Project, is the large research paper. And that focuses on a topic that's related to the field that the students are entering. After the students finish that course, they start what we call the project in Term 4, and that's the on-site experience. And the students will complete 70 hours at a work site, and during that time the students are writing reflections, taking pictures, taking notes, and putting all of those things into an e-portfolio. And we do the e-portfolio so that we see formatively the growth that the student is experiencing, and we see what the students are learning from start to finish. Finally, the students will deliver a presentation to a panel where they talk about their experience from beginning to end. They employ good public speaking skills, and they reflect back on that essential question. And that panel is made up of teachers and people from the business community who all use the same rubric to assess how the student did. As you could imagine, it's impossible to list all of the educational benefits of Senior Project. Each experience is unique. Each student will get something different out of Senior Project, but my hope is that these 3 things would be the common thread. For almost all of these students, this really is their first execution of a long-term project. We started at the end of grade 11, and here we are in grade 12, so this truly has been a year-long endeavor. We also think that this type of career preparation helps students start college on the right foot. We want them to get a sense of the skills that they need to acquire through college, and get an appreciation of what they really should be looking to get out of their education prior to entering the workforce. Finally, at this point in senior year, it's amazing how this program re-engages students and gets them really excited in these final weeks before graduation. I've mentioned essential questions briefly earlier within the slideshow, and I just wanted to pause and go over what they are, so folks have a better understanding of why students have an essential question and what it means to the project. The students pose an essential question that will focus their experience, and it gives them something to be curious about while on the site. And that's what we really value, is the students being continually curious, and we do think that's another skill or another thing that will be important as a student starts college. Constantly asking questions, constantly thinking, and using those higher order thinking skills. Students will draw conclusions to those essential questions throughout research, observation, interviews, debrief with the site advisors, debrief with their teacher mentors, and finally they'll report back out on these essential questions during their final exhibition. I wanted to to show you some examples of essential questions that we had in the past to, again, give you a better understanding of what they are. And as you can see, the answers to these questions would be subjective. They would most likely be arguable. There isn't necessarily a right or wrong answer, but again, these focus the student's experience. They help the kids make sense of important ideas and stimulate thought, and it really does make for a great project. You might be interested in what we're teaching students through that seminar course that prepares students for the work site. That's taught by Judy O'Neill. Of course, the students are doing a great deal of research, as I mentioned before, but we also do mini lessons on ethics and business etiquette, especially when it comes to the internet and writing emails and things that the students might not have had to consider to be a formal thing in the past. We talk about how to interview well, what effective communication looks like, and that goes along with collaboration and potentially conflict resolution, hopefully not on the work site, but maybe in college or, in a career later on. And since the students are going out in the field in Term 4, we do some work ahead of time on the back end, getting them ready for that final presentation, because we do want to begin with the end in mind on that one. Certainly problem solving, and we give them guidance for the e-portfolio ahead of time so that they're not confused when it comes time to be submitting their work throughout Term 4. This slide is really geared towards students and their families so that we're all on the same page about final exams. So AP students, what you should know is that if you're not sitting for the AP test, you must take your final exam, and that final exam would be equivalent to the content of an AP test. But as a general rule, not inclusive of any AP students out there, if a senior has an A- or better in a course, he or she is exempt from that final exam, so that's a great thing. However, if you don't have an A- or better, you must take each final exam before your project begins, and your guidance counselor is going to have to sign off that you did that. And of course, you can't have any outstanding work or homework that you didn't hand in. We cannot let you start your learning outside of the high school until you take care of what you need to do within the high school. Your last day of classes, where you're sitting in a room and learning material, would be Friday, April 5th. On April 8th, 9th, and 10th, you will only be taking exams, so you can leave after your final exam that day, or if you want to stay for lunch, if you're done, you're welcome to do that, but really those are your only responsibilities. I will be proctoring all final exams, most likely in the tech center or a classroom, but just know that that probably won't be with your teacher and will most likely be with me in a separate location. Okay, back to AP students for just a little bit. Remember that if you're an AP student, when you signed up for that course, you signed up to be responsible for all material that will be on the AP exam. So we need to ensure that you have some face time with your AP teachers. AP students are required to attend your AP classes once per week. You're going to tell these teachers well in advance about when they should expect you. We don't want to surprise anybody. We don't have any surprise drop-ins. And if we find out you're not going once a week to your AP classes, we'll probably give you detentions, or we could definitely take you out of senior project if you can't balance that, and because there's always an option to put everyone back into classes for Term 4 if something doesn't work out, as we know. As I just mentioned, AP students, you're generally expected to sit for your AP exams, and if you don't, you're taking a final exam in May with the rest of the senior class. And I already mentioned this, but I guess I will hit it home again, that your job for all students, not just AP students, is to communicate with your teachers ahead of time and communicate with your site advisors ahead of time. So if everything goes well, students, your last day of classes will have been April 5th. You would have finished all of your final exams that you needed to take, and on April 11th, you are available to start your 70-hour internship. To do so, you need to make a schedule with your site advisor, and this schedule should be made in a way that's convenient for the site advisor. What we don't want is students contacting the site advisor and giving them dates, unless that's what the site advisor asked you to do. Always keep in mind that that these people are volunteering their time, and that we want this to be as convenient as possible for them. and we never want any surprise drop-ins, whether it's on the site advisor's end or for the teacher mentor or your AP classes. Communicate ahead of time. And you do have to meet with your teacher mentor once per week while you're out on your internship, and this is your opportunity to debrief and process how it's going and check in with someone at the high school. You also want to debrief with the site advisor regularly, students. You want to ask them for feedback, ask them how you can get better, ask them what you're doing well. It's all part of your learning experience and all a part of your growth. In Term 4, you are adding components to the e-portfolio, so you want to look at that assessment guide and make sure you know when your due dates are. And it's never too early to start preparing for that final exhibition. So always, in everything you do, know that you have that final exhibition coming up and gather experiences and observations that will help you prepare for that. If anyone is interested in how we are going to break down the grading for these students, you can go ahead and pause this slide and look at the breakdown. This slide is geared towards the site advisors, and over the years we've gotten questions about from the site advisors asking us, what should I do to make sure that the students have a good experience on site? And we've come up with a few things that we find really helpful. Things like on the first day, introducing the students to the facility, show them where the break rooms might be, introduce them to people that they might be working with so that they feel a little less intimidated as they start this new phase to their education. Keep in mind that the student does have that essential question, so ask them what it is, make sure you know what it is, and try to give them experiences that will sort of lend themselves to the students drawing conclusions to this essential question. Be upfront with defining any roles, especially if a student will be only shadowing, and that's a common type of job experience, especially since sometimes we have kids who are under 18 and we are working with high school students. There's only so much that they can do oftentimes, and shadowing experiences are wonderful, but we want the students to understand upfront that that's the type of work that they'll be doing. And if you do think there are any tasks that the students could do, maybe you could talk through some of those with the students so they know what to expect. We suggest that you schedule check-in meetings with the students weekly, maybe 10-15 minutes, to just discuss their progress, debrief about how things are going, and give them some feedback. That's part of the transition into life after high school. Students need to be able to receive feedback and reflect on it. If you're in a situation where you're giving constructive criticism, just make sure that you balance that with something positive. We are working with students, and we want to just be sensitive to being overly critical. Contact the teacher mentor, contact me, contact Mrs. O'Neill if you have any questions. You are not alone. If you want to talk through an upcoming conversation that you'll be having with the student or a situation, please pick up the phone. We'll talk you through it. We know these kids really well, and we are here to help you, so just don't hesitate. At the end of the experience, the students will be giving you a rubric for you to grade how they did in several different categories. After you fill it out, the student would probably like to sit down with you and get the feedback and see how you graded them. But if you do feel uncomfortable with this, you are certainly welcome to just mail it to the school or scan an email to me. And you can always contact the site advisor guide if you need information. You should have gotten that at the beginning of the year, but if you join the program a little later, you might not have it. And at this point, you don't really need to read the site advisor guide, but if you want it just for quick info and you don't have it, just send me an email and I'll shoot one over to you. We wanted to make sure that we talked about the role of the teacher mentor in the senior project. The teacher is certainly a very important member of the senior project team, and that's because these teachers are meeting with students once per week. The students should be setting up these appointments with you, but if you're not hearing from them, make sure you have their contact information, and we would like you to kind of chase them a little and reach out to them. However, if that happens, we need to know, because that's not acceptable behavior on the part of the student. So Judy and I would certainly deal with that on our end, but it's just super important that the kids are meeting with you once a week. The teachers are the liaison between the site and the school, and as the students talk about their experiences with you, your ears are open to any red flags or any sticky situations or any struggles the student might be having. And if you come in contact with anything like that, it's important that you contact Judy or me so we can look into the situation a little more closely. Also in those meetings, every meeting, be talking about the final presentation. The teachers really are each student's coach for this final exhibition night. You're going to want to watch that presentation in full, give the students some feedback, and then hopefully watch the presentation again, ensuring that the students incorporated your feedback. Just because this final presentation is so important, it's worth 50% of the student's grade. So ensure that the students are being effective communicators, that they're hitting all points of the rubrics, which you can find the rubric in the assessment guide, and that they're really prepared for that night, because it can certainly be intimidating getting ready to present to a panel. It's really a shame that we weren't able to have our meet and greet night, because it ends up being a really fun night of networking. Look at all the wonderful businesses that are volunteering their time and investing in the education of our students. We've got it all. We've got students working with people in the media, with sports teams, in the trades, the arts, in law enforcement, in the health profession, engineering, biomedical engineering, you name it. And we're just so thankful that people like you would donate your time to us, because the kids can't get this experience anywhere else at this point in their lives. And we just want to say a big, heartfelt thank you for supporting our program. Just some final reminders about Senior Project. Students may not be paid for their work. They are getting high school credit, even though they're not in the walls of the high school. Their classroom has simply moved to a work site. But they are still creating their e-portfolio, doing reflections, and sending us work. Since they're receiving school credit, it's a real no-no to get any type of compensation for their work on site. Students are welcome in the building. You are still a Franklin High School student. You should feel welcome to come into the building to use the computers, use our resources, meet with teachers, meet with me if you need any help with your electronic portfolio. All we ask is that you sign in at the front with Lou, so that we know who's in the building. I'm available to help you while you're away if you need help with the e-portfolio, and so is Mrs. O'Neill. Just give us a heads up, as with everybody in Senior Project. I can't stress it enough to give your teachers advance notice, but we are always here for you. The last thing is an important one. April break will go from the 15th through the 19th. Students should not be on vacation other than that week. If you're not available to work during April break, make sure you tell your site advisor. They don't just automatically know that you're on vacation. So again, communication is key. However, if you are available during April break and you want to get hours done during that time, by all means, if it works for your site advisor and works for you, you may work during that week. If possible, site advisors, we do need a little more help if you're available. This would be for the final exhibition night, which will occur on May 28th from 5 to 8 p.m. And you would fill the role of the community member on the exhibition panel. And it's really fun. I mean, we start the night out with a little bit of networking, and then you get some training about using the rubric and judging the students against that rubric. And then you judge about 3 student presentations before calling it a night. So if you're interested, keep an eye out for my email that will be forthcoming, and just let me know if you're able to make it. Before we end this slideshow, I just want to make sure everyone has our email addresses. Don't hesitate to give us a ring here at school, or certainly to email us, and we will get right back to you. Obviously, Senior Project takes place during a limited amount of time, so we understand the urgency of being there for you and being able to help as much as possible. Thank you so much for listening to this presentation. I wish we could have all met in person. It's great on the meet and greet night for the parents and the teachers and the site advisors to all come together and get a chance to meet, but it just wasn't in the cards this year. If you have any questions, please contact me.